Hello, I'm Sudarshana Starshine Star. How are you doing? I hope this finds you very, very well indeed. Thank you for being here with me on this beautiful Monday. It's May 12th and it's 2025. I begin all of my clips with a short series of 3 prayers in Sanskrit and Telugu, and it's the Guru Mantra, the Ganesha Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra. And I do this to bless, uplift, purify, and sanctify you, me, and this clip. And for those, there have only been a few that have asked me about this over a long period of time that I've been doing this. These seed words, or they're called bijaksharas or bijas for short, B-I-J-A-S. You can look that up for yourself. These are ancient seed words from ancient India. This is not about religion. Yes, even though you can say, well, isn't this the Hindu religion? It isn't. This is about spirituality, and I've spent just a huge portion of my life studying underneath my Sri Sai Kaleshwara Swami of Penakonda Ashram in Andhra Pradesh state in southern India. He took his Mahasamadhi at age 39. That means he left his body in 2012, but he's still very much around. And he even said he can do much more for humanity and everyone on the other side. And I found that to be very true. The reason why I'm saying this is there just are kind of a goodly portion of people who think they call it unchristian to listen to these prayers or to hear something that's not just strictly in English or praising Jesus and Mary. And I understand, I comprehend that point of view, but it's just short-sighted. If you know the true history of Jesus, Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus the Christ, and his mother Mary and his wife Mary Magdalene, if you knew that Jesus got his enlightenment in India and that he taught and studied and taught his disciples the same ancient Vedic practices, processes, and mantras from very, very thousands and thousands and thousands of years old ancient palm leaf manuscripts that were given by Mother Divine herself to the Maharshis and to some rishis. And if you knew that India was really a very ancient old Bhumi Mata, that is the source that all other major religions and everything else came out of. If you look in any, in any fundamental, I really don't like to use the word religious, but religious writing, tomes, they are using these seed words, these bijas, in their prayers, in whatever language it is, because this is the foundation. So just know that is the truth. This is not about persuading anyone to leave off whatever they are finding to be very fruitful for themselves. Whatever they're doing, whether they're Baptist Presbyterian, whether they are Buddhist, whether they're Muslim, whether they're Hebrew. I am not suggesting that at all, but just add this in, because this is the real and true knowledge that needs to come out even more. It's provable. It has been proven. And of course, many people don't know about it. But just because we don't know something, does that mean it's not true? I think that it's very faulty of anyone to have the kind of misguided egoic pride that says, well, if I don't know about it, then it's not true. To me, that's a very silly way to live. I myself am a master spiritual teacher and a soul healer with much, much training and experience, but I will always be an eternal student. I love learning. And when I'm incorrect, if I'm in error on whatever subject, I will very swiftly acknowledge that. I will give my apologies. I will remove or contact anyone that I ever told anything that I found out more information about, or that it wasn't true or faulty information. And I will take responsibility for that, because I am about the truth. I am about the truth, the way, and the light. And I'm not interested in being right. It's not about me. I'm just a messenger. I'm gladly a messenger for the divine and for certain aspects of humanity to pass along things. It's not my knowledge. It belongs to everyone. And that's why I'm sharing it. And that's why I do what I do. But God bless you for whatever way you find fruitful, except for atheism and Satanism. I will never give a thumbs up on that. That needs to be put in the garbage pail because it's completely upside down, incorrect, harmful, destructive, and ridiculous. And I'll say that flatly. So here are the prayers. Om, 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 Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmahi Sri Guru Vena Namaha. Om Suklam Bharataram Vishnum Sashivarnam Chatubhujam Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om Bhurbuva Suvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Excellent. Now, here is from, I just saw this today and I thought I've got to put this out here. It's from Crazy Theories 2, a wonderful little short post on TikTok today. And, or I just found it today. I don't know when it was actually posted. Here we go. Award-winning journalist Alex Newman provides a flawless 90-second summary of the, quote, man-made climate change, end quote, scam. This environmental question depends on, I think, a very flawed fundamental presupposition. It depends on the idea that carbon dioxide is pollution. And did you just hear, I'm on a partial open air outdoor balcony, and just as I said that, there was something below in the streets, an engine that revved very, very loud. And I always take things that happen during these sessions that I'm recording and putting out there. There are no accidents. So I took that as a great revving up and a confirmation, like, yeah, baby, let's go with this. Put this out there. Okay, here we go. If you didn't hear it, you might not know what I'm talking about. But anyway, this environmental question depends on, I think, a very flawed fundamental presupposition. It depends on the idea that carbon dioxide is pollution. And I would argue that after interviewing hundreds of scientists, including many who've worked for the UNIPCC, many of the leading scientists in the world, that the notion that CO2 is pollution is absolutely preposterous. We exhale about 2 pounds of it every single day. The proportion of greenhouse gases made up of human CO2 emissions is a fraction of 1%. Now let that sink in. I'm saying it, not Alex Newman. Let that sink in against the lies that have been propagated and funded and sincerely bribed throughout the chain to put this ridiculousness about the climate change nonsense and CO2 nonsense. Okay, back to what Alex Newman is saying. The idea that that is going to destroy the planet or change the temperature of the earth is, frankly, in my opinion, totally ludicrous. But from a totalitarian perspective, and I interject here, of the controllers that I've talked about much on my YouTube channel, if you go to, it's a Dazzling of the Light at Sudarshana Starshine Star on YouTube, you'll find I think it's about 188 clips I have right now on a varied content, very interesting and juicy. I have a series there called The Controllers or The Real. Look underneath that, and I speak to this if you don't know about the dark cult satanic rulers that have been allowed to rule over the earth realm for about 26,000 years. And we are at the end of that now, which is why it's so ramped up and so chaotic and crazy. It's a great purging and cleansing that is necessary before we move into 1,000 years of peace and prosperity. That's ongoing, but we're still in the shifting times. You don't come out of so much darkness and ignorance and fear and propaganda and craziness and just flip right over into 1,000 years of peace and prosperity. There has to be a transition period. And that's what we're in right now. But much good is to come. Much good. Much good is happening right now. Okay, so back to the reading. But from a totalitarian perspective, if you can convince people that CO2 is pollution, then there's no human activity that doesn't result in CO2 emissions, including living, including dying. Turning on a light switch. Every single aspect of your life, then, if we submit it to the idea that CO2 is pollution, then comes under the regulatory control of the people, and I put in parentheses, not just people, but they're not exactly human. I would say humanoid. If you don't know about that, you will. Who claim to be saving us from pollution. So when they do these environmental studies and they say, well, your CO2 footprint will be smaller if you eat bugs, or if you do this, that, or the other, if you drive an electric car, that doesn't show anything about whether that's going to benefit the environment or not. In fact, CO2 actually has been very beneficial for the environment. In interviewing Trump's climate advisor, Dr. William Happer, physics professor at Princeton University, he said the Earth is starving for more CO2. And since we've had a little bit of an increase in atmospheric CO2 over the last 100 years or so, plants have gotten much greener. Agricultural yields have been improved. So I think we need to also talk about the fundamental presupposition here. Is CO2 really pollution? If it's not, then all these alleged environmental benefits are completely fictional. Yes, that's the end of what Alex Newman said. And I first really learned about this to the T several years ago when I was finding out about what a scam the Paris Accords were, when I went through a very knowledgeable sergeant who was breaking down the controller's agenda there and what each country was actually paying and what the United States of America was paying, because we've been footing the bill for everything, and what the most polluted countries in the world like China were not paying, and how we were going to be expected to. Basically, like everything else the dark cult controllers do, we're penalized for being human because they hate humans. They hate humanity and our ability to create, because the dark controllers turned their back on Mother, Father, God, and they gave up. God didn't turn his or her back on the dark cult controllers, because everything has been created by God, even the dark souls. If you don't know that, you should know that. But the dark cult controllers, who have been called the Khazaria Mafia, the Illuminati, the corrupted Freemasons, the Jesuits, so many, the 13 satanic papal bloodline families that have ruled out of Venice and Rome, yes, connected to the Vatican. So many names for, there's so many branches of one rotten, terrible satanic tree. False light. Anyway, this is just a really big topic. And it requires much unlearning, relearning, much independent investigative research. And like I've said on some of my clips, and I stopped counting, but I've got well over 17,000 hours of deep independent research under my belt. So I'm not talking about opinion. And when I began this whole process of deep independent research, as I've clearly stated before, I believed in socialism when I started. I was very ignorant. I thought socialism was just about generosity and about sharing and caring. I was very ignorant, but I was not interested in politics my whole life. My whole life has been devoted to only two topics, the creative arts and spirituality. That's it. I was not interested in politics. I thought it was a big mess, and I thought it was just so ridiculous and convoluted. But since then, I proudly claim my right to vote, and I proudly publish, discuss, propagate, put out what I have learned and shared and experienced through blood, sweat, and tears. Because it's not just about research. As I've also stated, if you go on my YouTube channel, you can find out certain things. I have a world famous, the most famous shaman in the world, stepfather, who, since I was a girl, indoctrinated me. I thought it was shamanism, but it was actually Luciferianism. I didn't find that out till decades later. The divine gave me a big etheric lightning bolt strike on my crown chakra that knocked me to my knees and gave me an instant download of many things that I had been not understanding. I couldn't put the pieces together, and I had been blaming myself for so much of the craziness and darkness and everything I experienced from my stepfather, my stepfamily, and this infiltration of this into my biological family, which already was disturbed to begin with. Yeah. So I'm speaking from experience. I'm a seer, I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. That doesn't mean I see everything all the time. I'm in a process of learning like everyone else. And illusions are very tricky. Illusions are very, very tricky. And belief systems can be very cemented. The denial system is very strong in us. And even if we see something right in front of our eyes, often we don't really see it. We can't connect the dots, or our belief system says, no, I'm not really seeing what I'm seeing. There's another explanation for this. And we just kind of shelve it because it's too shocking or disturbing for us to really get, oftentimes before we're ready, what's going on, because it requires us to reboot our entire belief system. All of our beliefs fall like dominoes, hitting one another. The structure comes down. And people, I'm not saying everyone, but many people don't understand that spirituality is not a primrose path. It is very challenging, real spirituality, not a new age false, just, give daisies to everyone and sing kumbaya kind of spirituality. Real spirituality requires kind of a deep scouring and a cleansing of your belief systems, of your mind, of the emotions that you're stuffing down, of the experiences that you've had that you've misinterpreted. It requires a deep excavation of all of that. And that's not easy for anyone, for nobody. It's not easy, but it's very, very worthy. So on that note, I'm ending this with the closing prayer. What I'm saying in Sanskrit and Telugu is, God bless all souls in all worlds. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, peace, peace, peace. I think the right-minded beings of this earth realm, we are all looking forward to peace, peace, peace. And it begins with inner peace. There is no outer or worldly peace without inner peace. It won't stick. It won't stay. We have to create that. And it's not about creating inner peace just because what look like the outward circumstances of life are pleasing to us or seem to be on an even keel. It's about being strong enough to create an equilibrium, an inner state of being that can weather the storms and the challenges of life, or as Shakespeare said, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Human life is not easy for anyone, no matter what you think. There are challenges for everyone. But there are many, 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 many solutions to every problem. Do you know that before any problem on this earth realm was created, the solutions, and I'm saying plural solutions for it, have already been created before the problems? If you really can get that, your life can shift right now in a big way. To every problem, there's not just a solution, there are solutions. And to every problem, the solutions are divine solutions. With God, everything is fun. Without God, nothing is fun, to quote Swami Yogananda. God bless you and yours. I'm sending much love and big hugs to you and yours. I'll see you when I see you, and bye-bye for now.